All right, get ready to dive deep, folks, because today it's all about friendship. But not the kind of surface level stuff, like who's your bestie or whatever. We're going full-on philosophy nerd here, talking Aristotle, little Roderick Long, the heavy hitters on this topic.
Yeah, it's kind of a trip when you realize how central friendship was to these ancient thinkers. Like, you'd think justice or bravery would be their top deal, but nope, friendship was right up there with them.
It does make you wonder, like, did they have more time to just hang out back then? No social media, no 9 to 5s. But seriously, though, why do you think friendships kind of gotten sidelined in modern times?
Oh man, that's the question, isn't it? Philosophers have been debating that for ages. Some say it's us becoming more like individualistic. Others say it's just the pressures of modern life. Too busy to really invest.
Makes sense. But okay, enough teasing. Let's get into the good stuff. Aristotle, the OG friendship guru, lays out his whole philosophy in this book, Nicomachean Ethics. And it's not just some fluffy self-help stuff either. He connects friendship to both happiness and virtue. Like, he's saying, want to be a good person and have a good time. Friends are your secret weapon.
He's not wrong either. It's a point we often miss. Think about it. Most of us struggle with that, right? Like wanting to do the right thing, but also just wanting to enjoy life. Aristotle's saying friendship kind of bridges that gap. It's inherently virtuous, but also just naturally enjoyable.
So all those late night talks and pizza sessions,
Yeah.
those were actually making me a better person. My mind is officially blown.
Right. But he doesn't just stop at praising it. He goes deep into some tough questions about what friendship actually is.
Yeah, like, is this friend just someone I like, or are we truly bonded?
Yeah, exactly. So first big question he tackles, is friendship even natural? Like, do we crave it deep down, or are we just driven by need, utility, that kind of thing?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I love my friends, but I've definitely had moments where it's like, is this real or just convenient?
Uh-huh. We've all been there. But his second question is even trickier. Can friendship ever be truly selfless?
Ooh, that one stings a little.
Right. Is it always about getting something back? Even if it's just emotional support or whatever, Aristotle digs into our motives. Are we being noble or just cleverly disguised egoists?
Okay, so are you saying we're all just using each other under the guise of friendship?
Not necessarily. Aristotle believed true friendship does involve genuinely wanting good for the other person. But he's real about it. Self-interest can be tangled up in there even when we're being good.
It's complicated, man. Okay, so friendship, not as simple as it seems. What's the third big question he throws at us?
This one's a classic. Friendship versus justice. Like, can close bonds make fairness irrelevant, or do even best friends need rules?
Ooh, I've been
Uh,
there, bending the rules for a friend. Is
wow.
that betraying justice or just being a good pal?
Right, and this is where Aristotle gets really interesting. He suggests friendship might actually transcend justice. That in some friendships there's such deep understanding, the usual rules of fairness kind of don't apply.
So, like, true friendship is its own little utopia where everyone just naturally does right by each other. That sounds kind of idealistic, but also kind of amazing.
It's definitely a provocative idea, and it shows how friendship can elevate us beyond just transactions.
Okay, my mind is officially rethinking all my friendships now. But hold on, before I go full Aristotle on my buddies. He doesn't just talk about friendship in general, right? He breaks it down into different types.
He does. He categorizes them based on what draws people together in the first place. One type is utility, pure and simple. Think study buddies, colleagues, anyone where the connection's about what you get out of it practically.
Makes sense. Those are valuable,
Yeah,
not the ones you call at 3 a.m. when your world's falling apart.
exactly. Then there's pleasure-based friendship, where it's all about shared fun, hobbies, that good time vibe, concert buddies, travel companions, you know the type.
Gotcha. Practical friends, fun friends. What's the top tier, the one Aristotle gives the gold medal to?
That's friendship based on virtue. This is where you connect on a deeper level, admiring each other's character, sharing values, genuinely wanting the best for each other.
Uh-huh. So this is where the real magic happens. These are the ride or die friends, the ones who push you to be better.
You got it. Aristotle believed these are the most fulfilling because they're grounded in something deeper, not just shared interests or whatever.
That makes a lot of sense. But hold on. If these virtuous friends are so amazing, wouldn't they also be super busy, like saving the world? How do they even have time for each other?
Great question. And it leads us to another fascinating idea, the great-souled person. This is the individual who embodies virtue to the max, practically a superhero of goodness.
Okay, so we're talking Gandhi, Malala, that level. But you said earlier even these folks need friends. Why is that?
Aristotle argues that for the great-souled person, Friendship's essential because it gives them an outlet for their greatness. They need somebody who can truly appreciate their virtues, someone worthy of sharing their insights with.
So it's not enough to just be good. You need someone to recognize and value that goodness. I feel like that resonates even for us non-superhero types. We all want to be seen and appreciated for who we really are, right?
Absolutely. It's that fundamental human need for connection to share our lives with people who get us.
Okay, this is all making so much sense, but before we get too lost in ancient Greece, let's bring in our other philosophical friend, Roderick Long. He offers a slightly different angle on the value of friendship, right?
He does. Long argues that all these explanations, pleasure, utility, even evolution, they're interesting, but they miss something crucial. They're all external reasons. They don't explain why friendship feels so good from the inside.
So it's not just the benefits, but the feeling itself. The joy of just being with someone you care about.
Exactly. He wants us to focus on that internal experience. What do WE truly value in our friendships? What makes them so good that we'd risk anything for them?
That's a good point. Like I can list a million reasons why my friends are great.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's that feeling I get when I'm with them, that sense of connection, of shared joy.
And Long would say that's what makes friendship so precious, so irreplaceable.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these pieces fit together. Aristotle gives us the framework, the types of friendship, the role in a good life. And Long pushes us deeper to really feel and appreciate what makes friendship so unique.
It's like a 1-2 punch of friendship wisdom.
Love it. This has been an incredible deep dive so far, and we've only scratched the surface. We'll be back soon to explore even more from Aristotle and Long, and most importantly, how to actually apply this stuff to our own lives. So until then, keep those friendships strong, folks. Welcome back to the deep dive. Still swimming in the deep end of friendship here, hanging out with Aristotle and Roderick Long. So far, we've covered a lot, like the different types of friendship and why those ancient Greeks were so obsessed with their buddies. But now I'm curious, does Aristotle have any practical advice on how to actually be a better friend?
He does, actually, and it might surprise you. He says a certain amount of self-love is essential.
Okay, hold up. Self-love and friendship. Those sound like they clash, don't they? Shouldn't friendship be about putting others first?
Yeah, that's a common thought, but Aristotle flips it. He says if we don't value ourselves, we can't truly value and support others. Like trying to give water from an empty cup, you know? You got to fill yourself up first.
Okay. Starting to see the logic there. But how does that play out practically? Does it mean putting my needs above my friends?
No, not about being selfish or ignoring their needs. It's more about recognizing your own worth, just as much as theirs. This self-respect actually makes for a more balanced friendship where both people feel valued.
So it's like finding that sweet spot between being a good friend and being good to yourself. But isn't there a risk that self-love could tip over into just plain selfishness?
There's always that risk, yeah, and Aristotle knew that. He's clear that true friendship involves sacrifice, but those sacrifices should come from a place of genuine care, not obligation or fear of losing the friend.
Okay, so it's like finding that balance between giving and receiving, supporting them while also taking care of myself.
Exactly. And it's not always easy. It takes practice and self-awareness. But Aristotle believed the best friendships are where both people are trying to live virtuously. When you share that moral compass, it's easier to make decisions that are both supportive and respectful, even when there's sacrifice involved.
Right, because you know they have your best interests at heart, so you trust their judgment more. But what about those times when there's a genuine conflict, like your needs versus theirs? How do you navigate that?
Open and honest communication is key. True friends can talk through tough stuff, weigh the pros and cons, and find a solution that feels fair to both. Maybe it's compromise, maybe one person's needs come first that time. It depends. But the key is empathy and trying to understand their side.
So, not about avoiding conflict, but resolving it well.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot more realistic than the whole friendship transcends justice thing. Speaking of which, I'm still not totally clear on that. Does it mean friends are above the law?
Not quite. It's more that in true friendship, there's such deep trust. The need for strict rules kind of fades away. Like you're both so invested in each other and the relationship that fairness just naturally happens.
Well, I get it. It's like you're on the same team, so you're not keeping score. Working together towards a shared goal, which is the friendship itself, basically.
Exactly. And that's powerful, right? It shows how friendship can create spaces where love matters more than just following the rules.
Yeah, it's like we usually think of justice as everyone getting an equal slice of the pie, but in friendship, it's more like everyone getting what they need to thrive, even if that's not the same for everyone.
That's a really good point. And it shows what's special about friendship. It's built on care, going beyond basic fairness to really look out for each other.
This is seriously making me rethink my approach to friendships. It's not just hanging out. It's about building something deep and meaningful, based on respect, shared values, and truly wanting the best for each other.
And it's an ongoing process, right? Friendships have ups and downs, they take work, but the rewards are huge.
Totally agree. Okay, before we get too warm and fuzzy here, let's bring back Roderick Long and his ideas. He had those interesting points about the internal experience of friendship. Want to dig into that more?
Yeah, he argued that we get caught up in the externals, benefits, activities, social status, but the real value is internal, the joy and fulfillment you get just from being with someone you care about.
So not just what you do, but how you feel when you're together. That sense of connection, being understood, that's what makes it special.
Exactly. And Long said this internal stuff can't be explained just by shared interests or benefits. It comes from that unique alchemy of two people truly connecting.
It's like those times you're just hanging out, doing nothing special, and suddenly you're hit with this feeling of, man, I'm so glad this person exists.
Yes, that's exactly what Long's talking about. Those moments of pure joy and connection, realizing this person gets you on a deep level, that's the core of friendship.
And it can happen anywhere, anytime, right? Deep conversation, sharing a meal, even just comfortable silence.
It's not the activity, it's the shared presence, the understanding that flows between you.
I love that. But it makes me wonder, if the true value is internal, does that mean the external stuff doesn't matter, AT?
Yeah.
Like shared interests, activities, values. Don't those things matter for a strong friendship?
They definitely do matter, but I think Long would say they're secondary. Shared interests give you chances to connect, activities create memories, values build respect. But the glue, the thing that truly holds it together, is that emotional connection, feeling seen and loved for who you are.
So it's like external stuff is the ingredients, but the internal experience is the magic that makes it all come together.
I like that. And I think both Aristotle and Long are getting at that. Friendship's complex. It's this interplay of internal and the external stuff that makes it work.
Okay, wow. We've covered so much ground here. Self-love, sacrifice, justice, internal experience, but there's still more to uncover. So listeners, stick with us for the final part of our episode. We'll wrap up our deep dive into friendship then. Welcome back, deep divers. We've been on quite the friendship journey, haven't we? Aristotle, Roderick Long, all these big thinkers throwing down some serious wisdom. But now it's time for the real-world application. How do we take all this deep stuff and actually make our own friendships better?
Yeah, that's the key, right? It's easy to get lost in the theory. But we're not ancient philosophers. We've got deadlines, errands, all that real-life stuff.
Exactly. So no togas required. No debating in the public square. Give me the actionable takeaways, the stuff we can use today.
Okay, well, one thing that really stuck with me from Aristotle is that emphasis on shared values. It's easy to get caught up in the fun or convenience of a friendship, but those things aren't going to hold up in the long run, It's like building a house on sand.
So it's not enough to just like the same music or whatever. We need something deeper.
Right, shared values are the foundation. But that doesn't mean you got to interrogate every potential friend about their moral code or anything.
Yeah, I'm not trying to start a philosophical debate every time I hang out with someone.
Exactly. It's more about paying attention. What motivates this person? What do they admire? Do their actions match their words? Do they inspire you to be better?
So it's less about agreeing on everything, more about seeing that core goodness in each other.
Yeah, you can be friends with someone who has different opinions, different beliefs, but if they're fundamentally kind, honest, respectful, that common ground is huge E.
And sometimes those differences can even be good for the friendship.
Right.
You learn from each other, challenge each other.
Absolutely. And about balance, shared values, and D, a healthy dose of different perspectives.
This all sounds great, but let's be real. Life gets busy. How are we supposed to find the time to really nurture these deep friendships when we're juggling work, family, everything else?
It's a struggle for sure, but I think it comes down to priorities. You make time for what matters. If friendship is truly valuable to you, you gotta treat it like that, schedule it in, put in the effort.
No more ghosting my friends for weeks on end then. Gotcha.
Ha, exactly. But it doesn't have to be grand gestures all the time. Small, consistent things make a difference. A quick text, a funny meme, just letting them know you're thinking of them.
Like tending a garden.
Right.
Got to water it regularly, a little bit of sunshine.
Perfect analogy. But what about when those weeds pop up? Those tricky situations where needs clash, boundaries get crossed, feelings get hurt.
Yeah, Aristotle talked about sacrifice and justice and all that, but how do we actually deal with that stuff without ruining the friendship?
That's where open communication is so important. True friends can have those tough conversations, express their needs, acknowledge the hurt, and find a way forward together.
Those conversations can be scary, though.
They are. But remember, it's not about winning or losing. It's about finding a solution that works for both of you.
Any tips on how to actually start those conversations without making things worse?
I think empathy is key. Remember, your friend's probably feeling just as anxious about it as you are. Try to frame it as a problem you're solving together, not an attack or blame.
So instead of, you always do this, it's more like, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed by this. Can we figure this out?
Exactly. And be ready to really listen to their side. You don't have to agree, but try to understand where they're coming from, acknowledge their feelings.
Okay, so honesty, empathy, good listening skills, those are the building blocks. But what about those friendships that just feel beyond repair? Trust is broken, values have changed, the effort's gone. What then?
That's tough. And sometimes we got to admit, some friendships run their course. It hurts, but sometimes letting go is actually the healthiest thing for both people.
It's like a plant, you know? You can love it, but if it's not thriving where it is, sometimes you got to move it or let it go. Doesn't mean the time you spent caring for it was wasted.
Beautiful way to put it. And that's kind of the truth about friendships, isn't it? Some are meant to last forever. Others are for a certain time, a certain chapter in our lives. The important thing is to appreciate each one for what it is. Cherish those memories.
Man, this has been an incredible journey. From ancient philosophy to real-world advice.
I know, right? It's amazing how relevant these old ideas still are.
So to everyone listening, take these insights. Think about your friendships and see how you can apply them. Friendship is a gift, a privilege, and a responsibility, all rolled into one.
Absolutely. So nurture those bonds, have those tough conversations when you need to, and most importantly, celebrate the joy of connection. It's what makes life richer.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, keep those friendships strong, folks.